The Department of Homeland Security is apparently on a huge ammo buying spree.
It comes out to like 1.6 billion rounds.
One thing that has unified Democrats and Republicans, and everybody in between, is that we all hated the bank bailout.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
The time to choose sides is now.
Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. It is Friday, August 8th, 2014, and I'm Leanne McAdoo. Here's what's coming up tonight.
Tonight, the Obama administration's policy of backing jihadist militants now threatens to inflame a new war that could engulf the entire Middle East. Meanwhile, ISIS says they will raise the flag of Allah in the White House. Then, the CDC goes on high alert over the Ebola outbreak, and the mainstream media says if you don't want open borders, well, you guessed it, you are a racist. All that plus much more up next on the InfoWars Nightly News.
Well, late yesterday, the Obama administration authorized military strikes to prevent what they say was a potential act of genocide against a religious minority, as well as to protect U.S. interests in Iraq. Now, a Kurdish news agency reported that hundreds of IS terrorists were killed in the Pentagon operation that took place there early this morning. Now, of course, the administration has been under intense scrutiny for the president's foreign policy failures, and with many people pointing a finger at his decision to pull the troops out of Iraq in the first place.
Earlier this week, one Iraqi in the area cried to the world, "There is no one coming to help." Well, today America is coming to help. We're also consulting with other countries and the United Nations who have called for action to address this humanitarian crisis.
Now, flash forward 2 years, and we see that that statement wasn't entirely true. ISIS has been able to, just in a matter of months, destroy all of the gains made by our troops there in Iraq. And of course, perfectly timed with Obama announcing these strikes. He goes on vacation. Trust in government is at an all-time low. Only 13% of Americans trust the government to do what is right always or most of the time, with more than 3/4 saying maybe they can be trusted some of the time, and 10% of the population says the government can never be trusted. Now, these are insane numbers. We don't even remember a time that trust in the government has been this low. And now we have ISIS, who we've been watching them destroying large swaths of Iraq. They've been all over Twitter, showing their beheadings and things like that. And our focus has been on other things: Gaza, Russia, Syria, the border. No one is talking about the literal terrorists that are taking over Iraq. Now ISIS is directing threats directly to America. They say that they're going to raise the flag of Allah in the White House, and then they go on taunting America, saying, "Don't be cowards and attack us with drones. Instead, send your soldiers, the ones we humiliated in Iraq." See, so they're basically saying, you know, come on with don't bring your drones, bring your troops. And this is one of those situations where America can actually say, bring the drones. We've been watching them driving in, but, you know, the president just wants to go drone people in Pakistan and big wedding parties in Yemen. Now, this administration has been itching to go to war, first with Syria, then with Russia. Meanwhile, we have been watching literal terrorists take over Iraq. They've taken over large swaths of Iraq. There have been public executions, beheadings, killing Christians. Why did it take the president so long to say, you know, maybe we might strike these guys? In fact, he's talking to terrorists, saying, if you guys get a little too close, then we're gonna drone you.
We've ended the war in Iraq. I've kept the commitments that I've made. I told you we'd end the war in Iraq. We did.
Remind them that this is the president that ended the war in Iraq.
Joining me now in studio to further break down this current bombing campaign Obama is embarking upon in Iraq against ISIS, Alex Jones.
Leanne, this is one of the biggest stories of our age because it's hiding in plain view. It's even hiding in the front page of major newspapers, but the media won't point out how sensationally evil this is, that the West, the United States, Saudi Arabia, Israel, and so many other groups through NATO and others are arming IS, Islamic State, or ISIS as it was known. This is simply a branding change from Al-Qaeda, because the West was caught funding them in Syria the last 3 years, to IS. So we're going to show people the mainline documentation that it is our government at the front of the line with France and so many others, England's involved as well, Turkey's involved, literally turning loose a group that is murdering Christians from Africa to Iraq to Syria to Egypt. And now Obama has the nerve to claim he's bombing them. So we're going to break down exactly what's behind all of this. First off, here is a map of the ethnic breakdown and religious breakdown currently in Iraq. You notice the areas in green are Shia. This borders Iran. Iran is a Shia state to the east of Iraq. Then you have this area that's basically a desert, no man's land, influenced by Saudi Arabia and Kuwait to a great extent. Then you have the Sunni Arab group bordering Syria to the west. And then you have the Kurdish area in this area of northern Iraq. Now, the Pentagon, the globalists have been on record for a long time saying that the takedown of Saddam in 1991, the second takedown in 2003, was about destabilizing a stable country and bringing in destabilization forces and breaking the country in 3 parts. Why is IS now being bombed after 3+ years of being given weapons from Benghazi and other areas by the Pentagon, by NATO, by Qatar, by Saudi Arabia, and by all these other factors to literally kill more than 300,000 people, launch chemical attacks, you name it, against the Assad regime who did nothing to anybody in Syria? They were allowed to come in the last 6 months, invade Iraq, take major cities. The entire time this was happening, even months ago, the Pentagon would not bomb their convoys with their Predator drones. They would leave them be, claiming, oh, we don't know what to do. They were armed to begin with. You remember about a year ago, whenever Rand Paul and others said we're not al-Qaeda's air force in Syria, just neighboring, that was about our military saying no to openly arming al-Qaeda. So when the public got upset about that, they named it ISIS, or now IS, to confuse people. But it's the black flag of al-Qaeda. It's the same people. So why are they bombing now? 2 reasons, then we'll go over the proof. Number one, Obama and the globalists are getting a lot of heat for openly being behind radical Sunni Islam with Saudi Arabia that is financing the entire destabilization so they can take over. And they're the big Western ally and the most radical form of Islam and the people that reportedly attacked us on 9/11, if you believe the official story. So who do we attack on 9/11? Do we attack the Sunni country that supplied 15 of the 19 hijackers? No, we attack Iraq with a secular leader, formerly CIA, put in 1979 during a more reasonable policy of stabilization of the region, though they moved to destabilization and had him attack Iran in that 7-year war in the 1980s. So it's an ongoing destabilization campaign that gets more and more morally bankrupt, more and more evil. Now, first off, he has to act like he's getting tough on these terrorists. How can they take our rights away when our own government is funding al-Qaeda? Change the name, turn them loose. The public's not buying it. So now you bomb some limited areas up here because they had seized some infrastructure, some oil fields run by the West, and had seized some dams. They want to break the country in 3 parts. The Shiite area, then you've got the Sunni area, and the Kurd area. That's always been the plan going back to 1991. They had to get the country broken down first, deindustrialize it, get rid of the central government in Baghdad to do that. So ISIS is supposed to only come in this deal that's been signed with Iran, that's come out, to where they permanently get this chunk of Iraq and the oil. The Kurds get this chunk and sell it to the EU, and Saudi Arabia and the West get this chunk to now break the country in 3 parts. Now, that's stated by the Council on Foreign Relations. A segregated or divided country, that's a British model of control. That's a fact, not my opinion. But on CNN and Fox News, you'll never hear any of this. It's just, we're bombing al-Qaeda or ISIS. Aren't we good? Now let us take all your rights away. When they brought them in to begin with to bring down the country. So this country has been targeted by the West for deindustrialization, population reduction, and destruction. A crime against humanity, a hardcore, long-term war crime. That's the big issue. Now, it's not just about the destabilization of Iraq. It's also about using this new al-Qaeda Islamic State base here in Western Iraq to continue to split up Syria and other surrounding countries. They've even got ISIS now attacking groups in Western friendly countries like Jordan and other areas. So this is a double cross of everyone, a completely devilish move. Now, finally, let's move to some of the documentation. Leanne McAdoo has some of the mainstream media articles right there. ISIS fighter claims Turkey funds the jihadist group. Well, there's no claiming about it. They have giant training camps there. There's another, London Independent, Iraq crisis, how Saudi Arabia helped ISIS take over the north of the country. Let's move on to the next story here. Another article out of Business Insider. ISIS is likely receiving funding from people living in countries allied with the U.S. It's not likely. It's been on record. This group was armed by the West, by NATO, trained by British commandos in Syria, and then ran back across the border to start this takeover. American allies are funding ISIS. No, America's doing it. What do you think Benghazi and the Stinger missiles were about? And the headlines now that they have them that we predicted. ISIS trained by U.S. government, another article. And John McCain went and hung out with them, with the leaders of ISIS a year ago. And now they've been handed all these oil fields that they supposedly run, but that oil companies are going to buy the oil from. Can't have any sanctions on ISIS. So the only reason they're being bombed is because they're not totally run, they're protected, and they're like demons you release into an area to destabilize things. They get greedy and start grabbing more. That's when the bombing starts to say, no, 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 can't have those Kurdish oil fields. No, 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 behave yourself or the predators are coming. This is managing evil in just a cauldron of destabilization. Let's move on now to the next stack of news here. Again, Obama is being heralded as finally taking on ISIS. If you go back and look at the airlift of evil that happened back in 2001 that our own military told us about, they didn't really attack the real Al-Qaeda or Taliban. They would bomb conscript 12, 14-year-olds out in bunkers and in ditches in front of the advancing NATO and U.S. coalition forces. Then the real Al-Qaeda Taliban would be waiting, turn themselves in to be paid in gold, loaded on C-130s, 40,000 of them, and flown to safety in Pakistan. So again, Obama is doing this to distract the public from the fact that the West is actually bankrolling and protecting ISIS, and they're doing it to let them know who's boss and keep them in line, because all these groups hate each other. This is just like what Clinton did when it came out he was lying about Monica Lewinsky and other scandals, bombing an African aspirin factory that turned out had no connection to terrorists. So it's also a wag the dog scenario. And I mentioned that airlift of evil. There's the NBC News article on it. The Times of London reported on it, and many, many others, where again, they took the real Taliban and Al-Qaeda force, brought them into Pakistan just 2 months into the Afghan war back in 2001 to start the terror networks up again and then move that proxy army to the next area. I want to get Leanne McAdoo's take on this before she continues with the news. And then we're going to go to a clip of a piece we did last year by Rex Jones and Rob Dew, Terrorist 101, to explain how this works. But Leanne, I get so excited when I talk about this because I've been studying it for more than a decade. And it's hiding in plain view, but the media uses the relative complexity to confuse the public.
Right, well, we're funding them, training them at secret training bases in Jordan. And then, like you said, they're kind of slapping that, no, no, no. Obama comes out yesterday almost gently saying, well, we're going to airstrike you if you move too close. You know, just, it's like, no, you're talking to terrorists. This is when you should actually be a president and talk tough. But he's like, well, we're going to do this humanitarian strike. And it's like, this is the one time people say, drone them. You know, they're sitting here basically saying they're going to be flying the flag of Al-Qaeda at the White House.
That's right. They said they're going to blow the White House up, hoist their flag, all this. And Obama's like, I'm going to nicely stop some of you because they are his allies. And he's forced to basically do this to his own minions because so much exposure is coming on this. And there's a lot of sick people out there that says the end justifies the means. We've got to control these countries. No, they're bringing them back to the Stone Age and putting people in charge that murder Christians en masse, publicly eat hearts, and are now cutting the heads off of babies and releasing the videos themselves. So this is the worst scum of the earth who is used as the threat to take our rights in America, and our scumbag government is funding these people. This is outrageous, and we've got to get the word out on it. That can stop this crime. And they're killing non-violent, non-radical Muslims en masse, blowing up their mosques, blowing up churches, killing hundreds of thousands of Christians, and nothing is being done. And the system thinks we're so stupid. And as you said, they have bases in Jordan. They have bases in Western Iraq that the Pentagon let them have. They have bases in Turkey. It's come out. And now they're even starting to attack places like Jordan that are their allies. That's how out of control they are. But see, the Jordanian government can now use these guys as an excuse and as a pretext to take Jordanian liberties, just like they can take our liberties here as well. Let's go to that report, Terrorism 101, and back to you, Leanne McAdoo, here at the Infowars.com news studios. But viewers out there, you have been shown the true historical breakdown in the last 10 minutes of exactly what's going on. So none of you in the media out there can deny that you didn't know what was happening. None of you in the Pentagon, none of you in the government, and none of us in the public can deny that we were ignorant. This truth is well known now, and it's a war crime. It's purely Machiavellian evil that we're involved in, working with Al-Qaeda to topple innocent regimes, blow up churches, and murder small children.
Hello, your friendly neighborhood patriot here for an episode of How Terrorism Really Works. First off, our terrorist group needs a scary name. Can you say Al-Qaeda? Let's try again. Al-Qaeda. Ah, it does roll off the tongue. Al-Qaeda. It's a perfect name. Now let's say the green piece here represents the terrorists. The terrorists then move into Pakistan or Afghanistan or whatever stan is not under banker control. The media then joins in to hype up the terror threat.
It operates with impunity from safe havens inside Pakistan, conducting cross-border raids into Afghanistan and up into Kabul.
Once the terror threat is established, the banksters puppets send in the troops to take out the terrorists they put in there in the first place. Then the bankers install their own dictator to take control of the resources and oppress the people. As a bonus, the banks, via the black ops and intelligence agencies, will then ship the drugs back into the host country so they can imprison their own citizens for using the drugs, make huge profits selling the drugs, which finance other terror operations around the globe, and the cherry on the top is billions upon billions made on money laundering operations for the bankers.
In a sense, you're watching as this opium is being grown. I know it grinds at your gut. How do you deal with it? What are you doing about it?
Well, frankly, this is a part of their culture. So while it might grind in my gut, it's what they do.
And if the citizens of the host country gets wise to these schemes or gets uppity, the banks via media will hype in nuclear terror threats, or an underwear bomber, or a Christmas tree bomber. Any excuse to take the American people's rights. Well, that just about wraps it up for Terrorism 101, How Terrorism Really Works. I'm your friendly neighborhood patriot. And now remember what Big Brother and other authoritarians say. Whatever you do, don't visit Infowars.com. Oh no, the control freaks don't like it. Oh.
City of Austin tap water versus filtered City of Austin tap water.
I can taste dirt in it.
God knows what's in this.
This has an aftertaste. Tastes like Austin water? Yeah, it does. Ugh.
These people just sampled City of Austin tap water straight from the faucet. Next, we had them try a sample of tap water filtered through the ProPure G2.0 filtration system.
High quality H2O.
That one is better.
Tastes like nothing.
Yep, I know what good water tastes like. It's good water.
Most tap water contains added substances like fluoride, chlorine, Monsanto's deadly pesticide, glyphosate, and many others. Studies prove that these substances are linked to an assortment of major health issues, including tooth decay, lowered IQ, and even cancer.
It tastes like you're drinking out of the lake when you're drinking tap water.
It has that processed flavor to it.
The ProPure G2.0 filtration system removes these deadly substances and many more, leaving only fresh-tasting, deliciously clean water.
Okay, this is very tasty.
It's good water.
Refreshing.
It's good.
Go to InfoWarsStore.com today. Use promo code WATER and save 10% off your ProPure purchase. Again, that's InfoWarsStore.com or call 1-888-253-3139.
The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other toxic members of the fluoride family are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the American people. I am extremely excited to announce the exclusive InfoWars Life Fluoride Shield formulation, fusing 6 of the best documented ingredients from around the world to help the body remove not just toxic fluoride residues from the body, but a whole host of toxic substances. Secure your fluoride shield at InfoWarsLife.com today.